Do more. Be more. Work longer. Harder. Faster. Hustle.
Our society seems to be pushing us to our limits. In these days, it feels like doing your most isn't doing enough. At work, we are constantly pressured to increase our productivity. And even when we're relaxing at home, we can feel guilty for not being more productive, as if our output is the only value of our lives. But what even is productivity? How can we redefine productivity? And how can we better relate to our own definition of productivity so that we can start living with the fulfillment and the happiness we deserve? I want you to take a moment as you watch the following clips and ask yourself, is this action productive or unproductive? We are talking about another business idea. Yeah, so we had a great Memorial Day. How was As you were watching, I bet some of those clips stood out to you as productive, some stood out to you as unproductive, and some were probably vague or somewhere in the middle. The funny thing is, I bet we could agree on lots of the more obvious actions that are productive, but there are so many that we would probably disagree on. Does this mean you're right and I'm wrong? Does this mean one of us is more productive than the other? Hell no! What this does start to show us is that every person has their own version of what productive means, because every person is an individual who has different passions, interests, and desires to accomplish different objectives with their time. Every person who watches these clips will find they have different views on what productive is to them, what aligns with what they want to be doing. Productivity, the effectiveness of productive effort, especially in industry, as measured in terms of the rate of output per unit of input. That's the definition of productivity, but I want to define a new definition. A definition that can be defined by each person and what they deem productive. A way to mark the actions you're taking that bring you individual fulfillment, enjoyment, and your own definition of success. Productivity, the conscious action taken by an individual to achieve their definition of success, happiness, and fulfillment. Now, I don't know about you, but this is the definition of productivity that I want to follow. Now, let me break down this new definition of productivity, how I relate to it, and how we can start to redefine our relationship to being productive. Let's start with how we can redefine being productive for ourselves. When watching the clips from earlier, there's one action in particular that myself and my girlfriend Emily disagree on being productive: making art. While I agree that art is beneficial, therapeutic, needed, whenever I spend my time painting, it feels totally unproductive. On the other hand, when Emily is making art or painting, she is at her peak feeling of productivity. Why is that? Well, it's because we're individuals with different aspirations. For example, I want to start a business or help teach people to think differently about how they relate to the world through my podcasts and YouTube videos. So when I spend my time painting, even though it might be fun, it doesn't feel like it's something that's getting me closer to accomplishing my goals or missions. Emily, on the other hand, wants to be an artist or graphic designer. So even though if we were painting, we'd be doing the same action, for me it feels like a distraction, and for her, it feels like she is practicing and honing in her skills to get a little bit closer to her ultimate mission of becoming a professional artist. We are different. We want different things, so we each see productivity through the lens of what it means to be productive to us. So the first step in defining your productivity is to figure out what your mission or goal is in the first place. But really, we should start figuring out. This is not something for most people that you can sit down and just decide what the final mission of your life is. But you can begin pulling at the strings of your life and lifestyle and begin uncovering what brings you fulfillment, what makes you feel just a little bit more alive. Maybe that's making art, like Emily. Maybe that's making a podcast, like me. Maybe that's cleaning up around your house, or learning an instrument, cooking, exercise, talking with friends. For me, productivity means I am taking actions that make me feel more fulfillment, make me feel more alive. So those actions that are bringing me fulfillment, therefore feel productive, even if that's something like playing video games with my friends. One thing that can help you discover this fulfillment is by reflecting on your day, keeping a notebook or writing in a journal. Being able to ask yourself, what did I do today that I enjoyed? What did I do today that I didn't? Is there something I wish I would have done today? Simply asking these questions and thinking through each day can start to point you in the direction of the things you enjoy and what brings you fulfillment. Like I said, this is an ongoing search and journey. What makes you feel productive today may not tomorrow. What makes you feel productive this year may not next year. So we should always be seeking to update and reevaluate what it means to be productive, and accept that there's not just one definition of productivity. It can always be changing, even for individuals. Back to our new definition of productivity. The conscious action taken by an individual to achieve their definition of success, happiness, and fulfillment. Hopefully, you now have a little bit of a better idea about how you can start to better define productivity for yourself by searching for what makes you happy, what makes you feel alive, and what brings you fulfillment right now. I have a full podcast episode called How to Discover Yourself, which you can listen to if you want to learn a little bit more about that. But we are still missing one critical component of productivity: conscious action. And really, it boils down to action. So really, there are two keys to productivity: figuring out what you want to do and then doing it. If we know ourselves, our mission, or what fulfills us, and we don't take any action, then we aren't being productive. If we are simply taking action without understanding why we are taking action, we aren't being productive. We are only productive when we know what we want to be doing and then doing something about it. Both of these pieces are equally important, so we can't ignore either and must engage in a productivity balancing act. If we are constantly moving, constantly taking action, we can start to lose sight of why we are taking action in the first place. This is what we start to see with the hustle culture. People start their hustles and have an end goal as mind, but as they keep working, they begin to stray from the mission that they started their hustle for. You might say you want to start your own business so you can be your own boss and have more freedom. That's an amazing mission and objective that you can now start taking action on being productive towards. But what I've seen happen to many people is they start becoming an entrepreneur, and instead of gaining more freedom like they wanted, they become slaves to their own business, working even more hours and being even more constricted. This is really where you need to determine what your outcome should be. Do you want to own a business, or do you want more freedom? If it's freedom that you want, there's probably different actions you could take that would be more productive in getting you more freedom. This is why we need to always be evaluating and reevaluating our goals, missions, and what brings us fulfillment, so that when we start straying off path or our goals change, we can also change the actions we are taking too. Knowing what you want to do and then doing it is a really hard thing. So motivation plays a really big part of productivity. But one thing to keep in mind is that almost nothing in life should be considered a sprint. When you are in periods of higher motivation, it will be easier to take productive action towards your goals. When you're in periods of lower motivation, it's going to be harder. This is also where manufacturing motivation and building additional positive habits starts to click in. Let's say you might want to become a musician. You can start practicing playing and performing, but you only have so much energy each day, and your motivation and energy are hard to maintain. Now, you still have the end goal of becoming a musician, but your biggest barrier to productivity is your energy. Now, to gain more energy, to feel better and more motivated, it might make sense to add in new habits like sleeping better, eating better, or exercising. While these habits aren't directly making your music any better, what they are doing is making you feel better, feel more energetic, and giving you more energy, so you can devote more time to quality practice that makes you a better musician. In this case, exercise and eating better are productive. And in most cases, I'd argue that exercise and eating better are going to provide you more energy and more motivation to take more action on pursuing the things that you really want to be doing. You can start thinking, what actions can I take that will make me feel better? That would be productive. What actions can I take that will give me more time to pursue what I want to be pursuing? That would be productive. What actions can I take that will make it easier to take more actions on achieving the goals I want to achieve? That would be productive. This will look different to everyone, since everyone has their own definition of productivity. But there are some actions and habits that are generally productive across the board. A few I'll mention are already well known, but can't be overstated. Exercise, sleep, eating well, meditation, and drinking more freaking water. Obviously, there are tons of habits that generally would be productive, but those are just a good place to start. I'll link to a few more podcasts below to learn more about some of these great habits. Productivity, the conscious action taken by an individual to achieve their definition of success, happiness, and fulfillment. Everyone will have their own version of what productivity means to them, and that's how I think it should be. There shouldn't be one formula or set of actions that produces happiness and fulfillment for everyone. So I really encourage you to dig in, dig deep, and find those things, those activities that make you feel just a little bit more alive, a little bit more energetic, and more fulfilled. The more you know yourself, the better you'll be able to define the actions that are productive in producing more happiness and fulfillment for yourself. I hope this video has shown you how many different ways there are to look at productivity, as many ways as there are people. And I hope you have a few tactics you can start to use to better define productivity for yourself. I've included links to several podcasts I've made below in the description that talk more about habits, motivation, and some of the topics we've talked through in more detail. If you liked this video or content and want to see a little bit more like it, let me know with a thumbs up or give me a comment and a subscription. I really appreciate it, and a lot of work went into making this video and others, so if you want to see more, let me know and I'll be happy to make them. You can also check out my website, realwithryan.com, where there's more info and media, or follow me where I'm most active on Instagram. Now, I challenge you to take just a few minutes to think about the things you love to be doing. Take one little action today to do a little bit more of what you love and redefine what it means to to be productive. Thanks for watching.